Sairam and warm welcome to you, sir and madam, to the studios of Sri Sathya Sai Media Center. It's an absolute honor to have you. It's really Bhagwan's blessing for us that he has sent you to the studios. Can I ask to begin with, what was your introduction to Bhagwan and when did that happen, sir?
Sai Ram and Namaste. I would first of all say that it is a true blessing that Bhagawan has given me this opportunity to come here today. I truly believe it is not possible to come to such places unless Bhagawan wants it. I must say that while I am truly a believer, I had the first introduction which I had to Sai was much later in life, and was introduced to Sai through my wife. My first opportunity came to visit Puttaparthi in 2007, and we came without like common people. We stayed here outside the ashram. We came for the satsang in the bhajans in the evening, and it was really, I have gone to satsangs elsewhere as well, in Haridwar, in Allahabad, in other places during my childhood. My parents had always believed in the virtue and values which would make a true person, not merely the education and the position. But when I came here, a lot of things which I had read and believed, I found that this was being practiced in real life, and that was a moving experience. My wife has been coming for seva for several years, working here in the hospital, serving patients, and that experience I realized is something which cannot be compared with anything else that you do. Those 10-15 days of selfless seva, where you actually forget the aham, the ego which you have, and you are only doing something out of pure love for other person whom you don't know, is something I think which truly brings out the human aspect of your being, and I think that is the biggest achievement which a person can hope to achieve. So I have always believed. I have intermittently, a couple of times later on, I had occasion to visit Baba's ashram here in Puttaparthi and in Whitefield, and every time I have had this fortune, it's been a moving experience. I have met a lot of people, both in India and abroad, who have been ardent devotees. And the fact that people who have come in touch with Baba, once they come under his folds, I have not found anyone who said, look, I believed in Baba, and after 2 years or after 10 years or after 15 years, I have now felt like there is nothing like belief in Baba. I think the fact that once you are in his fold, he embraces you and accepts you, and you'll find yourself the comfort and union which a child finds with the mother. That kind of comfort is something which has been extremely inspiring. A sense of peace, even more than inspiring, I would say a sense of peace and completeness that it provides. So it's been something which has been extremely, extremely fulfilling experience as far as I am concerned.
Wow, that reminds me of Abdul Kalam sir. When he also came to Bhagwan, he would also talk about how he felt like he was going to his mother.
I did not know that.
There is the story of how when he became the president, the first salary that he got, he sent it to Swami saying that, I want to first give it to my mother. So that sense of completeness when you come to a being like Bhagwan is something perhaps a lot of people feel and difficult to express it. Madam, if you can share about when Bhagwan entered your life. You have been instrumental in Sir coming to Bhagwan and getting exposed to his teachings. But like Swami would often say in his discourses, most of the people have developed faith in God through their mothers and their wives. And you're an example of that.
So I think I'm a blessed child. My father actually tested Swami on several occasions. And then he became a devotee. So I have seen Swami in my house. I think I remember I was around 8 years or 9 years old. So we used to have bhajans in the evening, 5 bhajans and then arti. So I never had any question of not believing in Baba. So for me, from the very childhood, Baba was God. So I used to go for bhajans with my father. I entered Seva much later when I was in my college. So my father taught me how to sing bhajans. And I used to regularly go for bhajans, and I would always, get a chance to be a lead singer from childhood. So I enjoyed singing bhajans. And that is how I came into Swami's fold.
So bhajans pulled you.
Yes.
And you were...
Bhajans and the appreciation, that I would get as a child, that okay, you sing so well, try singing this bhajan. So that gave me a lot of encouragement.
You would want to sing something now? Anything that you love?
Okay, I'll sing the first bhajan that my father taught me.
Yes.
A few lines?
Yes.
Gopal Radhe Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopal 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 Radhe Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopal Govinda Govinda Gopal Radhe Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopal Sai Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopal Sai Govinda Govinda Gopal.
Beautiful. Again, I think bhajans is one such movement which has pulled so many devotees to Bhagwan's presence, and I think even today when people sit for bhajans, you can feel the presence of Bhagwan. So it's really beautiful that you're holding on to this sadhana. Can I ask you, when did Seva become such an integral part of your life? And this time you've spent 1 week doing Seva in the hospital. What is that drives you towards selfless service?
Okay, I came for Seva in 2000 for the first time. And we had this Parvati Didi in Lucknow. She used to organize, groups and bring people to Puttaparthi for Seva. So I was doing little bit of Seva in Lucknow, but never got an opportunity to come to Puttaparthi. So we came with her in a group of, I think, 25, 30 youngsters. And we came by train. And I met a very, special kind of person, I would say. You'll get to know why special. So on the way we used to do bhajans in the morning, evening. And after every bhajan, this person, her name is Dr. Shushma Vinayak. So she would open a bag, take out a bottle of liquor or some pan masala, go out, eat it, come back, and again she would join us. So I found this very strange, that how come a Sai devotee, she's going for seva, and how come she has this kind of habit? So I used to keep her, I used to keep myself away from her. Anyway, we came to Puttaparthi, and somehow we were standing in front of the Sevadal building, and Parvati Didi, I think she got some duty and she didn't return for a long time. And we were asked to go to super speciality hospital. And for me, Puttaparthi was a new place. I had never been to Puttaparthi before. So anyway, we were told that there's a bus waiting. All of you have to go in that bus and your duties will be assigned. So I got this super speciality duty. So as I got into the bus, Dr. Shushma Vinayak was already sitting over there. So somehow I did not like that, I did not like her as a person at that time. One thing I missed, before we came to Puttaparthi, in those days Baba used to be in Bangalore for the summer showers. So we used to go to Bangalore first for the darshan and then come to Puttaparthi. So when we went for the darshans, morning darshan, we were sitting. Dr. Shushma Vinayak got a chance to sit in the front line. And Baba came. He stood in front of her. I was just behind her. And there was a letter in her hand. Swami took the letter and walked away. I felt very bad, because my opinion about this lady was like, I felt, somehow that I was better than her. That ego was there. After some time, Swami came back, again stood in front of her, and she got Charan Sparsh. I was into tears. I was feeling very bad and very jealous of her. That how come she is so fortunate and I am not? So anyway, when we came to Puttaparthi and we went to super speciality. So in the super speciality hospital, we stay in the nurses hostel. There are 2 rooms and where all of us had to stay. So we were allocated duties, and from next day morning 6:30 we had to start our work. So anyway, we went for the work, came back, and I wanted to take a rest, and I find this lady next to me, and she says, Veena, Parvati has said I have to take care of you. I was very puzzled why Swami is again and again sending this lady to me. Anyway, super speciality is like 10-11 hours of work. I was not used to it. And I think others were also not. So I had a lot of pain in my leg. So after I came back in the evening, and I said, see, I'm having a lot of pain. And nobody had any medicine. Somebody said, okay, we'll find. So again, she opens the same bag where she had the liquor and all other things. She takes out Iodex. She takes out the crepe bandage and gives me a painkiller. Ki isko laga lo, you'll be fine. So for 15 days, she really took great care of me. And slowly, my thinking about her changed. So one fine day, I asked her, I said, why is it that, you have all kind of bad habits and Swami gave you a Charan Sparsh? So she says, Veena, I lost my mother recently. So I wanted Swami to, bless me. I needed his blessings desperately. So in the letter, I had written that. So I gave him the letter. He came back and he gave me the blessings. So that made me realize, See, it's not the habits, I think, that make a difference. She was a wonderful person. And later on, she became a very good friend of mine. Very good friend of mine. Together in Lucknow, we did a lot of seva work. So I often used to tell her, Didi, why don't you leave these bad habits? So she used to say, Baba is divine. If he wants me to leave, he'll make me leave. He accepts me like this, and that is why, I'm continuing with these habits. And in a span of 2.5 years, she left drinking, she left eating that pan masala, smoking. I saw the transformation in her. I have myself seen, and I think that is the biggest miracle, that Baba changes the person for good. So that is why, I used to find a lot of inspiration in Dr. Shushma, that, she had completely surrendered to Baba. She completely believed that, Baba, if he wants me to change, he will change, and he actually changed her. And one fine day she had a dream and she told us, see, Baba told me, start reading Ramayana. Why should I read Ramayana when I don't understand? So she asked my father. So father said, okay, you don't read the original Ramayana, you read the English version of it, or you read what Baba has written. So she started reading that also. And I don't think anybody in Lucknow will not agree with me. If there was a seva program in Lucknow, if there was a bhajan, Shushma Vinayak would be there. So in 5-6 years, she became a totally transformed person. So I have seen this myself, and I have no reason not to believe.
Wow. Amazing. I think the most beautiful thing that you mentioned, as they say, if you judge people, then there is no time for you to love.
That's right.
And with God, you have that unconditional love. Swami accepts anyone, and that is the reason why anyone who comes here, they feel at home, because he accepts you as you are. And once you start getting associated with him, then automatically the purification starts, consciously, unconsciously. And I think that's a process that everyone goes through. As Swami would say, samskar, paropakar, samskar, finally it comes to sakshatkar. So I think that whole process begins, and really beautiful that, inspired by that, even now, you do service. And for you, sir, it is serving the nation. And can I ask you, after having done your IIT engineering in IIT Kanpur, and you've got a doctorate in management, what prompted you to get into civil services?
This is a question that has been asked so many times ever since, even when we decide, first time decided to go from IIT to civil services. In fact, a lot of people from IIT Kanpur, where at that time, especially in early 80s, most of the people used to go to US from IIT Kanpur particularly. At that time, one had a general notion that you want to serve the country, and therefore we should stay back. Why go to the US? But looking back now, 35, 37 years later, I think this is a decision which I am so happy about. It was some subconscious decision in some ways one took. This assignment in the civil services, this whole career in the civil service, has in every job that I have held. People sometimes run for important assignments. They want to go for jobs. There are certain jobs which people like to do. I have, throughout my career, never had to do that. But more importantly, I have found that every job that one has got, one has had so much opportunity to serve the country in this job. And therefore, today when I look back, I think the decision was to stay back was a good one. Let me share a small experience when I was district collector in Palghat in Kerala. We used to have a tribal block where till that time, and this is 92-93, government had lot of tribal welfare schemes, but not one child had actually passed SLC. And why SLC was important is that most of the government jobs will become available if you have passed class 10th. And there are plenty, the reservations made sure there are plenty of vacancies in the government for any 10th class person. But from that whole block, not a single person till date had ever passed SLC, despite having several schools and various welfare schemes by the government, educational grants, scholarships, clothing. And, we thought, and I got hold of a group of young Nehru Yuva Kendra volunteers in the district. And we said, why can't we start a Gurukul kind of a system, informal Gurukul kind of system? And I remember we formulated a small scheme for about 1.5 lakh rupees for a whole year. We selected 30 boys who had not done SLC and brought them to this small place which we hired and called Gurukul. And these Nehru Yuva Kendra youngsters became their teachers for maths, science, Hindi, English, whatever, Malayalam. When these students came, they could not even write, although they were several of them were SLC failed, they could not even write their name. And we put them through normal, training, mentoring, hand-holding. I was so attached to the scheme, I used to go and visit these children every day. And so much so that the newspapers started calling them Collector de Kuttigal, which means collector's children.
Oh, wow.
But the scheme, we called it Giri Vikas. That year, 29 out of the 30 boys passed.
Wow.
Next year, we started girls. Girls were even far more, inferior than the boys. To cut the long story short, that created a wave of education in that area. Those children became doctors, engineers. For several years after that, I used to get letters from that place. The government of Kerala, of course, later on, recognizing what had been done, converted into a formal government pattern which was replicated all over the district. It still continues as Giri Vikas scheme nearly 30 years later. Of course, once it became a government scheme, then a lot of the system-oriented difficulties. But the point was, but I was so satisfied. I still till date remember this as something which I could make a difference in the lives of one tribal block while I was there in the district. Similarly, in every job, one had opportunities to make changes. Sometimes I look, and the more I learn about Baba, is doing something at a grand scale. He had the divinity to be able to inspire people, motivate people. But in a very small way, to serve people, to make their life better in some way, so that they are able to have better living, better opportunities, freedom, to remove the tyranny of 200 years of colonial governmental burden, which was, during the British rule. We did see that the people and the masters were totally separated. To remove that burden and to see that the government is actually for the people and working for the people, That is the opportunity this job has given. And to that extent, I think it's been, no other, it doesn't matter. I mean, I must also share that at least 3 times in my career, given my professional background, I've had attractive offers from various, industry and academia in the US. But I'm happy that I have had this opportunity to continue in the civil service and to make whatever little difference at whatever time one could make in whatever we did. The best part is that it has provided me this opportunity to do this, whatever I have done.
Bhagwan sometimes, used to play on this word IAS, and when you flip it, it is SAI. So the kind of work that you were doing as an IAS officer was indeed Sai work. And Swami would say that knowledge without compassion is of no use, and compassion without knowledge again is ineffective. And I think when you bring in compassion and knowledge, then the transformation that you can bring about is so beautiful. And I think in the position that you are, you have that opportunity, and definitely destiny is guiding you. Can I ask you, just like this moment, these are the most fulfilling moments of your life, I would think. Are there any more such moments, in spite of the mega big deals that you do, as the Defense Secretary of India? But I think these are experiences which are cherished and which provide you so much inspiration. Are there more such stories?
Oh, absolutely. And all times, in all jobs. I mean, I can relate similar stories in every, several of the stories. And I mean, I will share a totally different kind of a experience I have had in my current job. As you are aware, in defense, we have been a country which has been largely dependent on imports for our requirements.
Yes.
It's not something that we can be very proud of. And when I joined defense, one of my belief was that this dependence is basically because we have not used the capability of our country and to meet the defense requirements. The country has got a lot of capability, but we have not been able to. You mentioned about Sai's love for children and his students. I think the youth of this country are, and I say this with full conviction, that they are better than anywhere in the world, if not, so I believe that all we had to do was that we had to somehow connect our youngsters, our startups, with meeting the defense requirements. Now, this is something which had not happened in the past. And one day, I'll just give you a story of one youngster who came in and he said, "Sir, I have returned from MIT and I want to make drones in India." This is in 2018, and I said, "Okay, but do you have a company?" He said, "No, I've just returned and I want to set up a company, but I worked in drone area in US, and as part of my academics, I think I can make a drone." So we said, "All right, please go ahead." We encouraged him. In a country where we had no prior drone capability, he started making his drones. From scratch, he used to make every part of the drone in India, including motors, materials, everything. And in about a year's time, he said, "Sir, I have been able to sell my drones to Northern Command." Now, in defense, a typical development project takes about 10 to 12 years. It takes hundreds and sometimes thousands of crores of rupees. This person has not taken any money from any government. He has developed the drone and he has even been able to sell the drone. But his story encouraged us to lead us to say that we will formally create a mechanism where our youngsters or startups can start meeting defense requirements. And we created a program which was inaugurated by our Prime Minister in 2018. In 3 years, we have had startups, over 50 different technologies have been produced. We have paid a paltry sum of 1.5 crore rupees. What used to take 100 crore rupees is being done in a fraction, 1/10 of that cost. What used to take tens of years is today being done in 1-2 years. And something which has never happened is that today we have countries like US and UK coming and they have come and sought technology from us for the kind of work that they are doing, and we are today able to provide technologies to the country. There is an ecosystem of about 1,000 startups in different areas. I just mentioned about one startup drone in different technology areas, and these people are creating the latest technology, and suddenly the whole ecosystem is today erupting with the energy and the innovativeness of these youngsters. I mean, we have today, in fact, recently taken a decision we will not import anymore. But I mean, what touches me every time I see these people, another, of these startups, in quantum computing, he has done work. Last month, he has created quantum computing capability for a distance of 150 kilometers. Nowhere in the world so far, the only country which has done a biggest hop is 90 kilometers. We have done 150 kilometers in quantum computing hop. This kind of capability which we are seeing today in the latest of technologies. And why I talk of latest of technologies in defense, it is about the latest technology, because you have to be one better than the enemy. Otherwise, whatever you have is not good enough. The kind of transformations our youngsters have created is something which I think is fulfilling the belief and what Baba already knew. He always knew this. So, the government possibly realized it late, but once that energy you can see it realize, it is a game-changing experience. And I can again tell you several other stories and of these, the kind of, in 3.5 years, the kind of change that this has been able to bring is quite, quite a game changer.
Absolutely. I mean, no wonder we are unleashing the power of young India. Actually, today, it just needs a platform and it needs little encouragement. And Bhagwan would always ask the students also to work for the country. Swami would say India lives in the villages. Swami would talk about self-reliance. The hostel in the students in the hostel would do everything themselves. Be it, your washing your clothes to doing the carpentry in the hostel to dietary dispensary, everything is managed in the hostel by the students. And this whole thing of country being self-reliant, and now we are able to export to other countries, is such a huge leap in the whole process of making India a superpower. And really, it's so heartening to see the developments that you are sharing. At the same time, I also feel that when we do certain things, there are sometimes you just take a leap of faith, isn't it? You don't know how it is going to happen. As you were saying earlier, you just have to not put yourself into it. You remove yourself and just allow, things to unfold. So where there are such experiences where, you yourself are surprised and you feel, okay, somebody else is guiding it and it's happening.
Oh, so many times. I think if anyone were to say, see, at crucial times, in life, you always see the hand of someone else which is guiding the work that you do. I mean, and all my career I have felt that, but I must give this one more, very recent incident which is related to this, the whole drone revolution which has happened in the country. This time, I don't know if you had noticed, during the 26th January celebration, on the beating retreat day, we had a 1,000 drone swarm show.
Yes.
India has become the 4th country in the world to be able to create a 1,000 swarm show. Russia, US and China are the other ones. And initially when we thought of doing the drone show, the idea was to do it with the Russian company. Thereafter, it was decided that we will do it. There was a startup at IIT Delhi by the name Bot Lab. They came up and said, "Sir, we are also having swarms, that is multiple drones." So I asked them, "How many drones do you swarm of how many drones do you are able to manage?" They said about 80 drones is what we fly. I said, "You fly 80 drones, we need 1,000 drones." And in technology, I must also mention this, the complexity of the problem increases exponentially, not linearly.
Yes.
So, if you're going from 80 to 160, it is not twice as difficult, it is multiple times as difficult. So they said, no, sir, we are confident. So I said, all right, let's give them a chance. And like I said, I had fair amount of belief in the startups and the youngsters of our country. But they said, so we don't have money to actually, so they make their own drones, but they need to buy chips and other components to make the drones. They don't have money to make those drones. So how much money do you need? So they said, we need 2 crores. So I spoke to my colleague in the Science and Technology Ministry, Secretary Professor Sharma, and he promised that he will give the money. But unfortunately, the money did not come. It took some time before, in government very often it takes time for things to happen. And this is all happening in August, September and January we have to do the show. Time was crucial for us. Anyway, since money was not coming, these people decided to pool their own resources, 4 or 5 of them. But they could only mobilize a few lakhs. And to buy the hardware, as with some coincidentally, one of them had a bereavement in the family, and he inherited about 40 lakhs. All put, they could mobilize about 60 lakhs. And 60 lakhs, they decided to put their full 60 lakhs to buy the hardware because government money was not coming. When they went to buy, they found that, and last year, in fact, even now, there is a global shortage of electronic chips and components because of various reasons. There were no suppliers. So they kept on scouting, and after fairly deep effort, they found one small company in Taiwan who said, we will supply. They had never done business with that company before. But since they had no choice, they decided to put the faith in God and give that money to that company. And after that, the chips did not come. Time kept on going.
Oh my God.
November happened. Until that time, those chips were not coming. Around November end, the chips started coming. This is a project on which we had so much shortage of time, even to the very beginning. Nowhere in the world, mind you, people have been able to do even today 1,000 drones. Here we are end of November, we still at 80 drones, and then fortunately this company started supplying chips. From there on, these people, I had initially told them that look, 31st December is the last date on which I have to take a call whether I can do it with you or not, because this is a big event.
Yes.
highest leadership of the country is there, president, prime minister, everyone else. We can't afford to, it's like, national, international event. We can't afford to go wrong. So these people would make drones in the night, test them in the night, make them in the day, test them in the night, and like that they were making drones parallelly and every day. By 31st December or so, they were able to make 500 drones and show that 500 drones. But to get the shapes and all, we really wanted the 1,000 drone, because that is a kind of a landmark. And then we had to take a call, because at that time, in fact, around 5th of January, when I had a review meeting, I found that they had about 500 drones. And they promised that we will do 1,000 drones. And like you said, that's the time you have to take a leap of faith. You have, things are outside your control, And I said, look, these are people who are showing this confidence. They have done so much of their own. Look at their own effort. So I just, took the name of God and said, "Theek hai, we will go with you." And as like they say, rest is history. They did the 1,000 drone show. The world stood up and took note. Today I got a message from them. They have received requests from another country to do the drone show for their Independence Day.
Wow.
So, it was, I remember 5th January, it was a day of where you had to take a call whether to go with them or not to go with them. And, I think some divine intervention and belief led me to say, and I used to tell her, I say, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I don't know what will happen but again, both the points, you believe in your youth and you believe in God, and I think things will happen.
Wow, I know you have any number of such stories, because when you are in positions the kind you are in, there are times when you have to take such decisions which have large implications, and you probably sometimes don't have enough data or enough time or enough resource.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. And that is why you're absolutely right. Decision making in an environment which is highly complex and full of uncertainty. So therefore, so many times you see the divine hand behind you, because, you can only do what, and if as Sai says, if your intention is good, if you are wanting to do it for the, service of others, for the good of the country. You see, when you do good of country, maybe you don't see the face of who's benefiting, but someone somewhere will benefit if the country is progressing. Then I think there is God's blessing which helps you.
It's so true. Bhagawan would always say that if the intent is pure, then you would always see God's signature there. And I think that is something perhaps you have experienced any number of times. And when you inspire youngsters to grow, actually it's so beneficial for us, because the technology is with us and we are always one up than the other country or the other nation which has the technology. We are exporting now, and I think we are in a position where India is taking that stage of leading the world instead of following the world. But I remember Swami would always talk about India becoming a superpower. He would always talk about that. In fact, today it feels like that we are moving in that direction.
Yeah.
Can I also ask you, as you said, there are times when there are very difficult challenges and moments where you just have to take decisions, go by your inner core strength and belief. But when you really are in tight situations, what is it that has helped you to remain steady?
I think, these are moments when you look up to God in whatever form, whatever name, and you ask the question that what I am in, is there something which I have done wrong, or is there something which I am going to do is wrong? And if you get the answer that what I am doing is something what my heart tells me to do anyway, then you go ahead and do it. As long as you find this harmony in your thought, your action, and your belief, I think that propels you to go ahead.
Wow. Swami would always say that the harmony of thought, word, and deed is what makes one a Mahatma. And it's a thing of being able to practice that builds your inner strength, and really beautiful to listen to someone who has been practicing that. When we think about the country, I'm always reminded of what Swami said once. Swami said, in India is a Tyaga Bhumi, is a Daiva Bhumi. And Swami said, anybody in India, if he decides to do good with a pure intent, there will never be any dearth of resources or opportunity. If the intent is pure in this land, that's what Swami had said. And perhaps now you are probably seeing so many individuals going in that direction and making themselves proud and making the country proud. What would you like to say to the youngsters? I think there are a lot of people, especially youngsters of current generation, who would want to contribute to India becoming a superpower. What would be your advice to them?
I am a great believer that the youth of today is actually wanting to contribute to the society, make a difference, and to see our country become great again. And I think today, like never before, we have the youth of today has an opportunity. I say this for two reasons. One is, technology has truly democratized the whole situation. Every person has an opportunity to influence large number of people, which was not so easy in the years in the past. I mean, divine people like Sai would be able to attract, but they were divine. But today, every individual who has a desire to do and make a difference has ability to influence. Technology has made the difference. The second thing is, the world is changing. The world is changing, and we are not in the same world which we were 5 years back, where there were established world powers. Today there is challenge to established world powers also. There is a flux in the world. And in this world today, India is seen with a new sense of respect, and in some cases even with awe. Our youth, I have given you some examples which I am being directly associated with. But in several aspects, we will see that, look at the way how digital transformation has happened, which is absolutely unthinkable for a developing country anywhere in the world, let alone of the size of India. Look at the way we have been able to manage our COVID, which countries with so much more infrastructure. Today we produced not only anything required to fight with COVID, PPE kits, ventilators, testing kits, vaccines, more than any other country in the world. We administered it. There is a certain respect for India, and it is therefore, I think, there is a huge opportunity for our youngsters today to see in their lifetime India achieve greatness, and it is going to happen because the values and the sanskars that have been inscribed in our culture, which our youngsters have imbibed through their own generations, will enable them to do this. Of course, equally important is hard work, sincerity, believe that they have to serve the country, give back to the country, and while looking for their own, growth and development. So I think this is, a Prime Minister says we are entering Amrit Kal. I think there is no truer statement than this. We are on cusp of actually seeing India enter into a new phase of development, and it is our youth who have now the great opportunity to realize that.
The one word that comes to me as you mention about India's rising status is how Bhagawan would talk about India as being the Vishwa Guru.
Absolutely.
And so it is not just because of its technological capabilities or its defense abilities or the infrastructure. It is all of this, but led by the values, as you said. Swami would give the example of Mahabharata and say, even an Arjuna and a Bhima would listen to Yudhishthira, because Yudhishthira always walked on the path of Dharma. And I think that is the direction where perhaps the country is growing. You are someone who was given the award and recognized as one of the most effective bureaucrats in the country in 2019 for your integrity, for your honesty, for your neutrality and professionalism. Really heartening to see the country being led by people of your stature. And what are your thoughts on, you just talked about the power of Indian culture and Indian sanskar. Would you like to say something about it to the younger generation?
Indian culture, one of the greatest things is believes in paropkar, the world good, the good of the world, the good of everyone. We have seen, when there is something which happens in some tragedy happens, people who are otherwise maybe having some differences they also congregate and come together to mitigate that tragedy or difficulty for that. This sense of paropkar we learn from our family itself. We learn, the father or mother would sacrifice their own requirement to make sure that the children grow up. I can say that my father gave up his opportunity for foreign posting so that his children would be able to continue their education here and make, otherwise, a foreign posting would mean some additional money, etc., which comes with such foreign posting. But he gave it up because he said, my children should, if we go away, then children at a growing stage will be. So this kind of feeling of, which you learn as part of your growing up process this is part of our culture, where, you learn sacrifice, you learn love, you learn affection. The second very important part which we see is we are not people, and that is ingrained even in our national thought process. We don't believe in hurting others. We are not a country who can easily go and attack someone and, for some material gain. Even if we have something which we rightly think is ours, we would find it very difficult to go and, kill someone and take it, even if it is rightful. We do not believe in hurting others. In fact, if you look at our history, we have never gone and attacked another country.
In 10,000 years.
10,000 years. This is in part of our culture. We don't do this. We are willing to take, accept, and sacrifice our own right so that we do not have to unnecessarily fight with others. And I think coexistence, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. World is family. We believe in living together, as world as one family, where we see this again, we do not see the differences. You have all the religions that have come, all the races that have come, and even in our daily lives. I mean, I have lived in Kerala, where you see the three major religions apart from a lot of others in significant numbers, living very peacefully together in the society. They participate in each other's festivals. Baba used to say, I mean, religion is not a discriminating factor for people who used to come in his, folds. I think this is something which we find in our culture, accepting people of different beliefs, different faiths, and believe in the humanity of the person rather than what his religion is. These are some of, but I think culture is something not which is, I am giving a very something which you experience in day-to-day life. I am not a person who has done deep study on this subject, but I think our way of life is our culture, and that is what the way we experience it.
True, and I think these principles of unity, of sacrifice, of forbearance, of Vasudeva Kutumbakam, I think this is what this is what is leadership material, and definitely I think that is what is propelling the country today. Can I ask you, madam? You've been here for longer than sir. Sir came here, and of course, sir has a very busy schedule. He has to go back today. And really grateful to sir for having spared his time. What are you taking back from Puttaparthi as you leave back to Delhi from Prasanthi?
Of course, Swami's blessings, lot of love, and a kind of satisfaction. I served, I got seva, the chance to do seva just for 1 week, but a kind of satisfaction. I had decided when I was coming here that whatever seva I'll get, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to tell anyone that okay, I'm so and so's wife, so give me easy seva. Nothing like that. So, well, let me tell you, I was doing Jhadu Pocha in Kulwant Hall.
Oh.
And gave me a lot of satisfaction. I don't do that at home.
For most of the time, people did not know. We also did this a very important and a memorable experience, and with Baba's grace and blessings, we for the first time brought our daughter. Who's 12 years old. We initiated her into seva, and we are very proud that, I mean, still a child, but I think this experience will go a long way for her in her own shaping her own personality in future.
Wow, absolutely. Swami would always send the students to do Gram Seva. It was like a mandatory thing, and every time you listen to students after the Gram Seva, it would open up new things in their personality, and I'm sure Seva has that power and of shaping minds, and really so glad that your daughter also could experience the joy of service, and we really look forward to you coming to Prasanthi Nilayam again, and really thankful to you for sparing your time and such powerful thoughts. We can go on listening to the stories of inspiration that you shared, and I'm sure it will inspire so many youngsters who want to serve the country and who have that passion and devotion for Mother Sai and motherland. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you
Sai
so much,
Ram.
Sai Ram.
Thank you.